History. Let's discuss history for a moment, especially concerning so-called lowly changing dimensions. The abbreviation of this term is SCD. This abbreviation is still frequently heard. SCDs are thus slowly changing dimensions. But what does that mean? The data in your database system can change. Let's suppose you have a product in your operational system and that product has a description. If you need to change it, then you can do two things. Firstly, you can create a new product. This is usually not desirable because you then also get a new product number. The second option is to modify the description. This is usually what happens. When we transfer all of the live system data from the operational system to our analytical database overnight, that means that our dimension table will change, in this case, our product dimension. But we haven't done anything to ensure that we know something about its history. So what's going to happen? The new name will be placed in the dimension table and all data linked to that name will be assigned that new name. And all products that had a different name before this name change will also now have been modified. And that can result in problems. You can imagine that if you generated a report yesterday and another one today, and now the product descriptions look completely different, you would be pretty confused. That's what could happen if you don't save the history. But with slowly changing dimensions, we can prevent that. With SCD, we have the choice of multiple types. This means we can choose how we want to track history. In this case, we can establish that the change is important. So we put all the data under the old product name up to some point in time. But from the moment that the data has been changed, we assign it a new name, even though the two descriptions have the same product number. Apart from this example, there are obviously many more situations in which business changes. With each situation, we can determine how important it is to save the history and to what degree of detail. In short, SCD types provide the tools to track history in a certain way. There are 7 types. We will discuss 3 of them in depth. These are also the most common and are important to recognize in order to build your reports in a specific way. SCD1. Overwrite. Slowly changing dimensions type 1 is the simplest type. This type simply overwrites data. You will use this type if you want to correct something. For example, when someone corrects a typo in a product name or in the surname of a person, it is useful if this correction occurs across all the information. If the history is not tracked for this type of information, then it's not so bad. So you can use SCD type 1 for changes that you do not need to track any history for. Okay, let's take a look at the next type, slowly changing dimension type 2. This gives you a very detailed method of tracking your story. In this case, by creating a new line for each historical change in the dimension table. Imagine that you have found an alteration in the data. For example, perhaps someone may have changed the name of a product. So this means that it's not a simple typo, but a conscious change. This change has been made without assigning a new SKU, stock keeping unit number, or product number. That's annoying because now we no longer know what the old name was. How are we going to solve that? Well, you fix that by modifying the primary key yourself. Because, as you know, you refer from the fact table to the dimension table, using a unique number. That unique number is the key, and an SKU or product number is often used for that. But the moment you use that product number, you have a problem. In this case, you can't track the history because you can't assign 2 different descriptions to one product number. Each product only exists once in the product dimension table. But this can be resolved by making 2 changes. Firstly, by creating a new field in the product dimension table. That field will be called product number. In this field, the product number is the same as the one established in the operational database. Secondly, the key field is modified in the product dimension. Instead of using the product number in the key, it is amended to a product number plus a version number. So, for example, product number 873 now acquires the key 873-001. As long as there is no change in the product, we will always refer to the fact table with this number. If someone has made a change, then we add a new line to the product dimension and assign to it product key 873-002. Because we added an additional column with a product number, you can still reflect the original product number in your reports. SCD2 is designed to keep track of infinite changes. SCD3. Slowly changing dimension type 3 keeps track of history, but is limited. Unlike with SCD2, you can't keep track of infinite history. In SCD3, a current value can be created, or rather a current value field and a previous value field. This ensures that only one additional field is added to the dimension. No changes are made to the keys. In the previous value field, you will find the previous value. In the current value field, you will find the current value. And all other history is no longer present. This technique stems from the past when storage was still very expensive, and in this way you could avoid a lot of data being stored unnecessarily. Nowadays, you rarely come across this SCD. Other types. Okay, you now know that there are 3 slowly changing dimension types. However, in addition to these 3 types, there are another 4 SCDs. But because the first 2 are the most common, and you only need to recognize the third, you don't really need to know more, other than that the other 4 exist. SCD4 is the addition of a mini dimension, which we will come back to later. SCD5, 6 and 7 are combinations of SCD1 through 4.